Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shai, all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kakwadash, double honors to our apostles and elders at Great Millstone who taught us his truth and who rule well. Peace, love, salutation, and mercy be unto the elect. Back again with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Ratazah, this lesson is edifying into the ears of you elect that are out there, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right, who are the Israelites, all right? Those of you that are in North, Central, and South America or scattered throughout the four corners of the world, all right? You Israelite foreigners that are out there that agree with this word, all right, with this testimony wholeheartedly, all right? Whether you look, however you look, all right, if you believe in this faith with your whole heart, mind, body, and soul, if you believe in Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, then you have to be an Israelite. The inspiration of this video comes from a TV series on HBO called Lovecraft Country. And within this particular episode, which was entitled Rewind 1921, it was dealing with the race war and the bombing and the destroying of many so-called Negroes, so-called Negroes within Tulsa, Oklahoma. All right. But you had Edomites, which Edomites are so-called white people. They were jealous at the thriving of Jakes. All right, here it is. These people that were subjugated, these people that were enslaved, these people that were considered to be beneath the so-called white man, throughout all of the things that they had been through, all right, by the hand of the so-called white man, they were still thriving and were becoming even more richer than Edomites. All right, and they could not have this. And Esau, what you will learn, all right, has carried a perpetual hatred for our people. All right, what he did into Tulsa was not the first event of such magnitude. That wasn't the first time that such an event like that occurred by the hand of Edomites upon Israelites. All right. You did the same thing back when the Babylonians besieged the land of Israel. And what you went in and did was you killed a lot of Israelites. All right. And you stole their riches. All right. You stole their things. All right. So that's the same energy and vibration that you came at them with within Tulsa. And the time is going to come where you're going to be paid back for that hatred and that anger and that envy that you carried. All right, face the fact, you were jealous. Now here it is, it's almost 2021, and that event transpired, almost 100 years ago. All right, it's 2020 now, so that happened 99 years ago. All right, in 2021, it will be 100 years. And you plan on coming after Israelites with that same vibration and energy. All right. And truly, you hate the fact that although you throw all of these shots at us, no matter what you do, you can't keep us down, man. All right, even within this time, you have Jakes that are prospering and becoming more richer than average Edomites within their own society. I saw a video where this drug addict, thug Edomite woman, all right, she looks like a crackhead. But pretty much she was saying that I hate you niggas. You buy your expensive and fancy cars. So completely jealous the fact that Jake is doing better than them within their own kingdom. Now, after slavery, You know, Edomites had fear of so-called Negro independence, all right, and their self-determination, which, to sum it up in one word, their prosperity. So-called whites, which are Edomites, became extremely jealous of Jake. And oftentimes what they would do in order to justify their hatred and to be able to have justifiable cause to be violent towards Jake, they created the atmosphere of rape hysteria. And what is rape hysteria? According to Urban Dictionary, it says that and when a man is accused of rape, he is guilty by default with no chance to explain himself or prove his innocence. All right. And that was done unto a man by the name of Dick Rowland, which was a young so-called Negro man, which he would have been from the tribe of Judah. He was accused of raping or trying to rape a so-called white woman, who was an elevator worker. Which later on she came out and denied the claim that he had even tried to assault her. But this was done purposely by Edomites so that they can have justifiable cause to go forward with what they wanted to do anyway, which was to rape, rob, and pillage and murder so-called Negroes out of envy and out of jealousy. So Edomites covered up their jealousy, their hatred for Jake prosperity, and used rape hysteria to give them justifiable rights to murder Jakes, to rob them and to pillage so-called Negroes all over the U.S. Because this wasn't just happening within Tulsa. These kind of events were transpiring all over the United States. For an example, December 2nd, 1920, attempt to shift blame to Licorice Looking Black. Raleigh, North Carolina, November 30th, Charles E. Davis, prominent Wake County farmer, committed suicide by hanging himself in the city jail today. Davis was arrested on suspicion of having murdered his wife after authorities began to doubt his story, that she had been killed by a licorice-looking black. And that was in 1920. So this is going into 1921, Knoxville, East Tennessee. And this is coming from a book called 100 Years of Lynching. She denies rapist was black. Monterey, I believe that's Georgia, November 30th, Miss Bessie Revere, daughter of one of the most prominent women in Quitman, Georgia, gained consciousness just in time to prevent departure of a search party that had been formed to score the country for the big black brute who had been described in the press as her rapist. Miss Revere said the man who assaulted her was James Harvey, a prominent white man. Jackson, Mississippi, Ledger, January 1st, 1921. Lynching continues to drop, which that was a lie. Memphis Press, January 26, 1921. Mobs take Lowry from train, which was a so-called Negro that was taken and lynched. Lowry en route to lynching, January 26, 1921. Memphis Press, January 27, 1921. Lowry roasted by inches before wife and children. So they killed this Jake before his wife and children. Knoxville, East Tennessee News, February 3rd, 1921. Lynched after refusing to dance on white's command. So here it is. They killed a Jake for refusing to dance on white's command. New York Times, March 14th, 1921. 50 Kentucky men hang Negro. Jury failed to convict. So here it is. This Jake was proven innocent, and they took it upon themselves to bring justice in their own hand. A lot of these situations were done All right. A lot of these situations were done just based off the pure hatred that they have for us. New York Post, March 15, 1921. Lynch for remarks to lady. Memphis Times Scimitar, March 18, 1921. Midnight terrorists lynch Negro brakeman on the Y and MV. And a lot of these stories are too long to read, so I'm just naming the title. Omaha Herald, March 23, 1921. Pleaded in vain for trial. All right. Richmond plant lynching at McGee Ark, May 21st, 1921. Boy lynched at McGee for no special cause. So as you can see, there was a lot of killing of Jake in 1921. All right, so it wasn't just the Tulsa event, but the Tulsa event was one of the worst events, all right, to happen to so-called Negroes. All right, they say within this event that 300 Jakes were killed, but there were way more. All right, Esau tend to water down the numbers. Now, this is a news article from Quartz, which just was published June 18, 2020. It says, we still don't know just how much was lost in Tulsa massacre of 1921, which in this article, they give the amount of an estimate number of the damage that was done within that city. And they say 1,470,711 was incurred in damages, equaling to about 20 million today. Which, who gives a fuck about the money, all right, of the damages? What about the lives that were lost and the blood that was shed? Which just shows you that you can never have a continuing city here with Esau Edom. Because as long as this man, being our adversary, is still left alive, all right, you would never have peace. As long as he is still in power and his kingdom is reigning, you would never have peace. All right, you would never have rest. All right, you can't build up a city within his city. You can't build up a town within his country. You can't build up a country besides his country and have your own. All right, because this devil is envious at you, and he would not stop at any length to prohibit you or to hinder you, all right, from having your own. Overnight on May 31st and June 1st, 1921, in a period of just about 12 hours, the single largest incident of racial violence in American history occurred in Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma. More than 1,000 American homes and businesses were looted and burned to the ground. You had a thriving community occupying more than 35 square blocks in Tulsa that was totally destroyed. Scott Ellsworth, the author of Death in the Promised Land, the Tulsa race riot of 1921, all right, told Quartz it looked like Hiroshima and Nagasaki afterwards, which there were planes that were actually dropping bombs out of the planes upon Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you believe that you can build up a community here, all right, and have the new Nazareth, all right, your so-called promised land. All right, our promised land is over in the land of Israel. And if you be patient, eventually the Lord is going to come and take us there, and we shall have everlasting peace. But here you will not have peace or rest. In a recent discovered account of the massacre, Bo Colbert Franklin, then a lawyer in Greenwood, paints a horrid picture. I could see planes circling in midair. And what were those planes doing? They were dropping bombs. They grew in number and hummed, darted and dipped low. I could hear something like hail falling upon the top of my office building, he wrote. Which, what do you think that was? Those were different pieces from houses and businesses that were being blown up, All right, and the debris was falling upon his office. I saw old Midway Hotel on fire, burning from its top, and then another building began to burn from their top. And this scene had to look like hell. All right, this scene had to look like hell unto them back then. The destruction of Greenwood began as an attempt lynching of a black teenager, turned into a full destruction perpetrated by a white mob. As many as 300 were killed. More than 10,000 remained homeless. And according to the Tulsa race riots of 2001, an estimate 1,470,711 was accrued in damages equal to about 20 million today. Despite the gravity of the event, like other important chapters of African American history, the Tulsa race massacre was also but deleted from the U.S. collective memory for decades. Ellsworth's book, published in 1982, was the first comprehensive history of the massacre. My book was the most stolen book out of the Tulsa City County Library system, he remembered. And why? Because these Edomites were taking these books and they were trying to keep that information from being out there. All right, because the things that you have done unto these Israelites, this is a great stain upon America. All right, this is a great stain. And the skirt of you is being pulled up, and all of these things that you have tried to hide are coming back into light, and they're hunting you. And the people that are bringing these things out, you try to hush them. All right, but the Most High Heavenly Father will make you bear, okay? He will make you bear. This might be why U.S. President Donald Trump didn't think it would be inappropriate to hold a political rally in Tulsa on June 19th, celebrated as Juneteenth, the day marking the end of slavery, which you're still slaves within America, all right? That the president could be so oblivious about the great tragedy of in 2020 shows just how effective white supremacy has been in suppressing the episode in U.S. history. And not only that episode, but many of them. All right, this book, 100 Years of Lynching, is full of many episodes of the atrocities and massacres and calamities carried out by so-called whites upon Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And then you have the audacity to act as if you don't understand why we're angry. And you have the audacity to act like, all right, you don't comprehend why we are so upset, man. And when we speak about these things, which some of you don't even know, all right, you are unfamiliar with your own history, all right, the history of your foreparents, because they have done their best to suppress the things that they did, sweeping it under the rug and hiding it behind a curtain. But the Most High Heavenly Father has it to where it's being revealed by the prophets. All right, and you're going to have to deal with the things that were done within this country. All right, you're going to have to answer for those things. The rally was then moved to June 20th following criticism and protest for the debate. In the 99 years, all right, since, no one has been held to account. All right, no one has fully calculated how much was that loss. And that's true, all right, because you Edomites have not held yourselves to account, all right, for the things that were done. Nobody was punished, all right? Nobody was punished. Nobody was brought to trial, all right? Nobody received any jail sentence or were put to death for the loss of the lives and the property. All right, what you did was you carried out that old hatred during this time. And in every generation, all right, something like this goes down, man. All right, why? Because you carry that hatred for our people forever. An incalculable loss. The spark of the massacre was the attempt of whites living in Tulsa by the already and booming city known as the oil capital of the world to lynch a 19-year-old African American, which is a Jake, an Israelite, falsely accused of trying to rape a white teenage elevator operator. But beneath it, there was something else. White jealousy. All right, Greenwood was a thriving black community of about 10,000 at an especially perilous time for African Americans, when the second Ku Klux Klan held power far beyond the southern states, with representatives in local and state governments in New Jersey, Oregon, and Indiana. Some black families had accumulated enough wealth to own large homes, automobiles, hotels, businesses, enough to generate racist anger from whites who didn't think, African Americans were entitled to prosperity, according to the Ellsworth and other researchers who compiled the 2001 Riot Commission report. The Williams families, for instance, owned the Dreamland Theater, an automobile and 3-story big brick building with apartments, an office of lawyers, and a confectionery on the bottom floor. J.B. Stratford, a man from Indiana who had invested in Greenwood, owned a 54-room hotel. So as you can see, Jake was doing good, and what they did was they built up, the city, Greenwood, within Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Edomites were upset at the fact that Jake was doing better than them. So when they were going around burning up Jake's houses and burning down their businesses, they were also looting. They were also looting. But you have the audacity to get upset at Jake and claim that they're looting and rioting, because they're protesting out there for the things that you did unto their people. Who are the biggest rioters and looters upon the planet Earth? We're mainly the face of the Black Lives Matters movement is you Edomites. And you're the main ones out there burning things down and robbing and looting. This is something that is within your nature, man. So you were jealous that Jakes were doing better than you. So what did you do in return? You blamed the Jake for raping a white woman or trying to rape a white woman, which you do in every event. And that's called rape hysteria. And what happened, if that said, so-called whites get together in bands. They get together in large bands and groups of whites, and they will move into an area and do what they already wanted to do anyway, which is to rob and pillage. And to murder. And a lot of times these were lies. So reading from this book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome from page 74, it reads, in 1921, African Americans had managed to build Greenwood, a booming industrious town within Tulsa, Oklahoma, that came to be called the Negro Wall Street by local residents. Segregated towns like Greenwood formed because it was often unlawful for blacks to own businesses in white cities. The tension in Tulsa was part of a national pattern during the teens and 20s, when city after city exploded in the worst racial conflicts that the country would ever see. Fear of black independence and self-determination took a Freudian form of rape hysteria. In one town after another, racial violence was sparked by rumors that a Negro harmed a white woman. This happened in Washington, Omaha, Nebraska, Kansas City, Kansas, Knoxville, Tennessee, Longview, Texas, and Roseville, Florida. So these were things that you were doing or saying often so that you can have justifiable cause to do what you wanted to do anyway. You would never give him a chance to prove his innocence, and you didn't care. All right, you just wanted to go about doing what you already wanted to do out of your jealousy. Why were tensions exploding at this time? In large part because the face of more than 300 years of bondage, segregation, and oppression, African Americans were organizing and were building healthy and economical self-sustaining communities. All right, against overwhelming odds, they were becoming successful. For a multitude of reasons, white society could not sit casually by and watch us flourish. So in one of the most successful black communities seen in America up until that time, it seemed like something had to give. One morning during rush hour, people claimed they heard Sarah Page, a white elevator operator, scream, and then saw Dick Rowland, a black shoe shine, running from the elevator. As a result, Rowland was arrested and jailed for assaulting a white woman. The next day, an editorial in the local newspaper called for Rowland to be lynched. That night, a white mob went to the courthouse to get Rowland, and a group of black men marched in Greenwood to protect him. A confrontation between the groups ensued. Shots were fired, and the riots began. As the men retreated to their community, as the black men retreated to their community, white police officials deputized many of the mob and gave them instructions to, in effect, go out and kill you some damn niggers. Perhaps as many as 10,000 whites stormed Greenwood. When it was all over, Greenwood had been razed to the ground and hundreds were dead. Ironically, Sarah Page refused to press charges against the accused, and Derek Rowland was acquitted. So why was this done? All right. Ultimately, it was a lie that was told in regard to a so-called black man, Derek Rowland, trying to rape a white woman. All right, to have justifiable cause to organize a mob and to go out and to kill blacks, to murder them, all right, to rob their shops, to rob their homes. All right, Jake was doing so damn good, in so much to the point that they were able to have 2-story homes. All right, they owned expensive pianos, expensive cars. All right, they had houses with chandeliers from the ceilings, while Edomites were living in shacks. All right, while they were living in hoods, man. All right, so Edomites covered up their jealousy, all right, their hatred for Jake and Jake prospering, although they had been oppressed for a long duration of time by using rape hysteria. All right, now, but during this time, they're going to use other buzzwords. They're going to use other trigger words, such as domestic terrorism. All right, so that they can have justifiable cause, all right, to invade the cities in which we're living in now and do what they have always done, man. All right. And what is that? To raise our cities to the ground. And in a lot of cases, a lot of Jakes are doing better than Edomites. All right, Jake is doing better than Esau, although you tried to oppress them. And that's ultimately the curses being transferred over, like it says what happened within Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. But anyways, what happened in Tulsa reminds me, and especially through reading this passage in the book, it reminds me of what the Edomites did when the Chaldeans came and took our people into captivity. Those that remained in these certain cities where Jakes were at, Edomites were going in it, and they were doing the same thing that they did in Tulsa. Psalms 137 and 7. Remember, O Yahweh, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation, thereof, which means to burn it down to the ground. And I'm sure the woman that's the author of this book, All right, she got that from this passage, which shows you, all right, the fact that they did that and the hatred that they have towards Jake. It shows you that the so-called white man is Esau Edom, and it also shows you that the so-called Negroes are Judites. All right, that they are from the tribe of Judah, because this is the same event playing out, but within this particular city as well as other cities, because it happened also within Rosewood. Now the word raise is Ira, right? And it means to be bare, be nude, uncovered, leave destitute, discover empty, raise, all right? To expose oneself, make naked, pouring oneself, spreading out oneself. So they made it bare by way of emptying the land. And I'm going to put a picture up in post-production. So usually you have businesses and houses that cover the land. Well, when you destroy it down to the ground, you're making it bare so that you can see the bare ground again. That's what they did unto our people, man. Let's define the word raise real fast. It means to completely destroy a building, a town, or a site. All right, this is what they did into the land of Israel. All right, this is what they did to Judah and Jerusalem back in the ancient times. And this is what they done into our people over here when they tried to establish, all right, their own. All right, and you burned our temple to the ground. You took our cities, all right, which you attempted to take Tulsa, Oklahoma, and to run railroads through it, but you were prohibited from being able to do that. A 1 Ezra 4:45. Thou also hast vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Judah was made desolate by the Chaldeans. And not only by the Chaldeans, all right, you are the daughter of the Chaldeans. All right, you were right there side by side with them and helped them, all right, when our people were taken. And that's the reason why the book of Obadiah, the first chapter, goes in on you. Because that same hatred and energy you have carried from the ancient time all the way up until now. All right, you have had a perpetual hatred towards our people. And that's the reason why the Lord says this, beginning at Obadiah 1:6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? Or how are his hidden things sought up? All right, hidden things such as what you did in Tulsa. All right, and the slavery of the Negroes. All right, the slavery of the Latinos and Native Americans. All of these things are being sought up and being spoken about by way of the prophets. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. And they that eat thy bread have laid a womb under thee. There is no understanding in them. All right, because of the things and the treacherous things that you have done unto our people, are in spoiling them and enslaving them. The Most High Heavenly Father have put the spirit upon your adversaries. I'm sorry, upon your friends, which are become your adversaries, those that you were confederate with, all right, to rise up against you, and they're going to destroy you, man. All right, because of what you did unto the Israelites, you're gonna be destroyed. All right, the Most High Heavenly Father is bringing World War III upon the world, all right, to judge the nations for what they have done unto Israel. Shall I not in that day, in that day, said Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mountain of Esau? And the mighty men, thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mountain of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Was that not a violent thing that you did in Tulsa? Was it not a violent thing that you did in Kansas, in Washington, in Knoxville, Tennessee, in Rosewood, Florida, and all over the place, man? All right, the entire America is soaked with the blood of Jake, man. And you're going to have to pay back for that blood that you have shed. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that strangers carried away captives his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was one of them. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah, in the day of their destruction, neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest have not entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. So this happened back then, and it also happened in 1921. June 1st, 1921. You went into their cities. You looked upon their substance. You took their goods. You murdered and massacred a lot of Israelites. So guess what's going to happen to you? Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. For the day of Yahweh is near upon the heathen, and thou hast done, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. So the things that you did unto our people is getting ready to happen unto you, man. The scriptures say, when you shall cease to spoil, then you shall be a spoil. When you, Isaiah 33:1, when woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled, who dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be a spoil, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. You have dealt very treacherously with our people, insomuch that you have kept your anger forever. And that same energy that you have always had has been shown even on this side of the world. You have had a perpetual hatred for our people. Let's see. Ezekiel 35:5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. You have shed the blood of Israelites all over America. And what does the scripture say concerning blood? What does it do unto the land? Let's find out. This is the book of Numbers 35:33, which reads, so ye shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defileth the land, and that land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So your blood will have to be shed. The time is coming where you're going to reap what you sow. You have raised our cities. So the Most High Heavenly Father is going to raise yours. He's going to destroy it down to the ground, in so much that nobody dwells in this land anymore. So this has been 1921. I truly hope that this lesson was edifying. We are calling to remembrance all of the atrocities that Esau has done against our people. And the Most High Heavenly Father will remember it. In regards to you that are thinking that you could build up a city or a town, within this place with this devil, you can't. Micah 2:10, arise and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted, and it will destroy you even with the sword destruction. You can't raise up a city, or build a city or a town in the same place where this man is, because through his hatred, through his envy, through his dislike for you being Israelites, he would do whatever is within his power to prohibit you from being able to do so. So with that, I truly hope that this lesson was edifying. Until the next time, Shalom.